Hello and welcome to another episode of Talk About Games. I'm Ryan.
And I am Mike, and today we're going to be talking about Predator on NES. What's your game?
My game is GetsuFumaDen Undying Moon. And this game came hot off the presses of the latest Nintendo Direct. And that frustrates
Which
me.
I didn't watch the Nintendo Direct, so can you tell me a little bit about it?
There's gonna be a new Xenoblade. There's gonna be a new Kirby. Mario's playing soccer.
Is the Kirby like the open world one?
Yeah, it's like a Mario Odyssey type.
Right.
But like, and you know what's funny? The gimmick's almost the same with the new Kirby, because the new Kirby is there are things that he can suck in that he can't swallow, like a car
And other things.
and a cone. Mm-hmm. Right. So he sucks in the whole car, but he just kind of sticks to the top of it.
Okay.
And then you could drive around in the car.
Okay.
Just like Mario throws the hat on things and
Cappy.
can take control of it.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing. And the graphics are kind of samey. We did not get any new Breath of the Wild information,
okay.
which was frustrating to me.
That'll be for the next Nintendo console.
But
That's what they tend to do.
They did announce that there was going to be, 46. I'm going to say 46. It might have been 48. 48 new Mario Kart tracks. And you could pay like some ridiculous sum of money.
For Mario Kart 8?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
But they're
cool.
all like remakes of old tracks. But you know, if it was a Super Nintendo track, it's going to be drastically different.
Right.
It's basically.
I mean, if they're making
if
they're putting like Super Nintendo and like old tracks in,
Yeah.
like I think that's actually really cool.
So
that's good.
So if you buy Switch Online, you just get it, or you could pay $25 per pack,
Per pack
which would have been like $125 to get
all of them.
Yeah.
So that they're really trying to get you to get the Nintendo Online.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know how much it is. It's like $50 a year, $30,
Right.
something like that. I would have to look it up, but it's not a lot of money.
And then what happens in 10 years when they take Nintendo Online down? How are you playing those tracks?
Well, then you better have but have bought them, I guess.
So you should really buy them if you want to play those in the future. Because they just announced that the 3DS
And the Wii.
and the Wii
U.
U shops are
Yeah.
coming down, all that.
Next year.
And they did it before with the PS3, all
Right.
that came down.
And the Wii.
So it's a big concern that there's all these games that are they're not going to become lost to history because
Right.
there's going to be people that are going to have them, download them, save them at this point, especially when people have advance notice that something's coming down.
Right.
You know,
everybody download. You know, like hundreds of people that are like that were like, oh, we got to get them all now.
You know what it's like? It's like a going out of business sale.
Yeah.
It's like the tape is up and they're like,
Right.
oh, going out of business, better get it now.
You know, everyone talks about, oh, I'm worried about the future. We won't get to play these games, all of this. Well, like, guess what? Like, the vast majority of games that come out, you're never going to get to play. Because you're just not going to have the time to play them, and you know that's something that we have to accept.
You can play any old arcade game that used to be in a physical arcade cabinet in your house right now on a PC in MAME because people make it happen. All these games are going to one day be available on your computer to play in some emulator.
Right, yeah.
Like, they will be.
I was shocked, like, PlayStation emulation and N64 and Dreamcast emulation kind of snuck up on me. But now it's like, whoa, I could play all these things, and it's pretty good. Yeah.
Isn't it weird that, like, years down the line, you'll be playing Nintendo Switch games emulated on
There's already people working on it.
people probably doing it,
There's
right.
people working on it. All the Breath of the Wild mods and
All
shit
that,
like that.
right.
Where's that come from? But GetsuFumaDen frustrated me. And GetsuFumaDen frustrated me not only because it has a long title, but it frustrated me because this game is published and developed by Konami.
Now, wait a second. They made a game again?
They made a game. This is the game they made.
Well, I
And-
guess they did that Grimoire of Souls, whatever.
Sure. But it's like,
that counts.
it's like, okay, you got Konami. You know, they didn't farm this out. They didn't license it. Konami made. GetsuFumaDen was a game that came out on the Famicom. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's 1988 Famicom game. Not released in the US.
And it's like a side scroller.
Yeah. And I played it, and we're going to talk about that a little bit in this episode.
Okay.
But this game was featured in a Nintendo Direct. This game is not good enough to be featured in a Nintendo Direct.
Okay.
It was featured in Nintendo Direct because of nepotism, right? because Konami has a long-standing relationship with Nintendo, back to the NES, all of that, and they said, feature our game, and Nintendo did. But this is not a very good game.
Mm-hmm.
GetsuFumaDen Undying Moon is a roguelike. And there's a lot of roguelikes. And we play them on this show.
And I talk about too many of them. Sorry. I'll try to.
We talk about them, right? Because roguelikes, I think, are the modern game genre that most emulates how it feels to play old games. Right?
Well, there was roguelikes back in the day, too. Like ToeJam and Earl's a roguelike.
Sure.
Right.
But the challenge of it, the permadeath, all of that.
Oh, how hard it is.
The
sure.
NES hard,
Sure,
we used to say things like that. But so Konami comes out with a game, and they come out with this budget title. GetsuFumaDen Undying Moon is a budget title.
Mm-hmm.
You think back to PlayStation
Wait,
2.
it's a Konami game that's a budget title?
It's a budget title. But, if this game was an indie game made by 2 or 3 people, it'd be fine. Whatever. Made by a team of 10, 20, sure, it'd be fine. But this is a game made by Konami. And Konami made Metal Gear Solid. Konami made Castlevania. Konami made big games. They could have been a contender. Right? So here's what this game is.
I wonder how many people worked on the original Castlevania, like the Famicom NES game.
30 to 50, probably.
You think back then?
Like if you look at the credits
Oh, that's true.
and all, even though the credits are kind of jokey,
Right.
it's still 30 to 50,
Right.
maybe. So it follows a pretty standard roguelike formula, but I want to come at it for 2 things right off the bat. The graphics of this game are not acceptable for a game that's $25. I don't think they are.
Okay.
I think the art, there's some beautiful things they're doing, but it just feels very like paint by numbers and very like.
This is looking like an iPad game.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. A little bit like an iPad game. I think that the random generation in this game is a joke. So they take a map like this.
Right.
And they dig tunnels in it in like sections.
Yeah.
And then they place objects.
And that's the random generation that
in
happens
the
each time.
tunnels.
Okay.
But it doesn't.
So you die and you start over and then it makes a new tunnel?
Yes.
Okay.
So all the tunnels are in the ground, and then there's a boss room, and the boss room's always the same, but the tunnels are all the same. And I just think it's tired. Like the original game had like the 1988, Famicom game.
Which is a completely different thing.
Which is a completely different thing. But the character, they took the character right out of the cutscenes of that 88 game. Like there is literally a full page like splash cutscene where the character like is holding the sword like this.
Okay.
And he's the guy that's in this game.
I mean, I think that's kind of cool.
It is cool. It is cool.
To bring back an old Famicom thing and make it. I mean, I like that part of it.
But like, I felt like the enemy variety in that was really good. I feel like it's crisp. The backgrounds are black. The enemies are colorful.
You're talking about now about the Famicom version.
The Famicom
Let's
game.
talk. Tell me about this Famicom game.
Okay. So GetsuFumaDen is a Famicom game that has side-scrolling TMNT or Legend of Zelda 2,
Zelda
Adventure
2.
of Link
Okay.
style combat.
Yeah.
And it has a world map like Turtles or Zelda 2.
I recently played the Famicom Disk System version of Zelda 2.
Yeah.
And it's very, it's got a lot of interesting differences. Just real quick, because I'm never going to bring this to the show, I don't think. So
that's interesting.
The main difference, in Zelda 2, when you get points and you like level up.
Yeah.
And
can you pick?
And you can pick this one has the 3 things, like the sword, the magic, and the health. You have to pick each one evenly. So like the first one comes up, you get attack. The second one comes up, you got to pick magic. Like if you pick 2 attacks and then you die, it goes back to 0 and you get nothing. So it has to all be equal by the time you die. So it has to be like 1, 1, 1, and then you die, and then you start again, you'll be 1, 1, 1. But if it was 1, 1, 0 or 1, 1, 2, if you die, it sets it back. So
wow.
it's totally different than I didn't know that about this version is the original version of Zelda 2. It's very very different.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So in the Famicom game, you're Leonardo from TMNT. I mean, you look like GetsuFuma, but
so you're Leonardo, but you look like Leonardo.
You have the same attack motion.
I wonder if this game came out before or after.
I think it came out before.
So they took
GetsuFumaDen
for TMNT.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So the jump is very similar, although he doesn't do the roll, but like the height of it.
Yeah.
How he jumps almost the full height of the screen.
Right.
Like TMNT. The enemies are like big and fairly easy to see.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. The problem is there's a lot of text. I get why they didn't translate this game because there's like pages of Japanese text. And like you should see my recording of this. I have it like here, and I'm sitting here with my phone, and I'm like typing in the kana
because you're learning all that
to translate it, and it was like a big translation task. But it's like ha 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 ha, I'm the evil witch.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty basic,
right?
And it's all hiragana, so it's pretty easy. But I prefer the Famicom game.
It's a good practice for you, isn't it, to be able to play some of these games and then sit there and do that. It gives you a good excuse to work on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
And it's interesting because learning a language, if you just learn vocabulary and you don't learn like sentence structure, you don't see it in use. Like you may know a word, but we may use a word slightly differently. You kind of need to see that like native.
At this point, when the stuff comes up on screen, are you now, because you've been working on it a little while, are you now able to point out certain words and things?
Oh, I can read it all phonetically.
Oh,
and then
okay.
It's like, okay, well, I get that. I get the words. There are words I could definitely pick out, but like phonetically, I can read it. And the scrolling in this game is good enough that, like, if I don't know a word,
phonetically you can read it, but you don't necessarily know what each word is or what it means. Okay,
exactly. But Japanese is really easy to read because of the particle system. So, like for instance, like if something ends in wa or ha, that's like the subject of the sentence.
Okay,
wa is like the topic, and then ha is the subject, and then questions always end in ka, for instance, that sort of thing. So you start seeing these particles floating around, and you're like, okay, subject, here's the objects, like possessives or things that go together will have no between them.
I have a question for you.
That sort of thing.
So also in this Zelda 2
Yeah.
Famicom Disk System version, you're talking to somebody in a town, like the girl that they say the girl that gives you the blowjob or whatever. You talk to her though, and a bunch of
innkeeper,
whatever it is.
Yeah,
but a bunch of text comes up and it's all in Japanese. But then you go inside and you go down to go, and I know because I played the English one. You go down to the wizard or whatever, and then or whoever it is, and you get the shield magic, which is the first magic you get in the game.
Yeah.
But when that comes up in your inventory, it says shield in English.
Wow.
So why would that not be in Japanese? Because I feel like I tend to notice in the Japanese language.
Have you ever seen a Japanese warrior carrying a shield? Ever?
Oh, I see. Okay, where are you going with that?
I'm sure they did. Like, look,
right.
like I'm not a Japanese military historian.
Right.
Okay. I'm sure they had shields. They had spears. They had swords. I'm sure they had shields, but I've never seen it.
Okay.
So they didn't have, like, I would have to look at the game to see if they had.
Yeah, but I think all the other ones would be in English too, like Thunder and stuff. And I know that they have Thunder in Japan.
Oh, were they all in English?
I didn't get that far in it, but I think they would have been if I would have kept going. It seemed like they would have been.
I wonder if it
could have been the ROM.
I wonder
too.
if the Japanese word didn't fit.
I don't know.
It's
just an interesting thing. I
usually
find,
it would be the other way around.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah. No, that's interesting. But so we have the two GetsuFumaDens. We have the one where it's very Zelda 2 like, it's very Turtles like, it's on NES. You're a guy with a sword. The enemies in that game are in the new one. Like the heads that come
much
at
of
you.
it I like. I think that's cool.
It's cool. This game, you get it. You're like, cool, I got all these two main weapons. I got my sub weapons. I got bows and guns.
Have there been other...
No.
games in
This
between.
is the sequel.
That's fucking wild, actually.
Right.
Imagine just you could pick out so many random old Famicom games
Yeah.
that nobody's talking about anymore, and then all of a sudden, oh, here's the sequel. That's
Yeah.
actually really crazy.
And it's the first one to come out here,
right.
which is bizarre.
Really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Konami's not really making that many games, and they put this out, the sequel to the 1988 Famicom
It seems
game.
like somebody's like pet project. They were just like, I want to do this.
I feel like that. I had that. I was talking to other people here in the office. I was like, you know what this game is? Some dude who works at Konami, who's worked there forever,
Yeah.
is like, I want to put this out. I always liked this game.
Right.
We're going to put this out. And he was high enough in the company that they were like,
Okay, we're doing it.
okay,
Right.
we're doing it.
Right.
Why not? But like, I can't imagine this game doing well. And
I haven't even heard of it.
yeah,
This new game, yeah. How did this get on your radar?
it was in the Nintendo
because of the
Direct.
Nintendo Direct.
It was
Yeah,
in the
that's right,
Nintendo
that's right,
Direct.
that's right.
But I'm like, and I knew that this would be a good Japanese learning game, the original.
Okay.
So I knew GetsuFumaDen existed.
Okay.
And then they're like, GetsuFumaDen, why is this in this Nintendo Direct? And it's like, this game could have been good, but it's not. Could have been good, not a good
So what's the problems with it?
So there are collectibles that give you powers between runs, and there are collectibles that give you powers during the run. There are multiple primary weapon types, and there are multiple sub-weapon types. A sub-weapon is like a bow, a gun, caltrops, a bomb, a ball, that sort of thing that you throw. They're like things you throw or shoot.
Mm-hmm.
The main weapons are like swords, like fists, whips, spears, chains, clubs.
Okay, so there's all kinds of weapons.
That sort of thing. So
Sure.
they're there. Every single weapon in this game has a tree of abilities that you can unlock on
Mm-hmm.
it. And there are multiple swords and there's multiple spears and they all have their own upgrade trees. But the collectibles,
So like let's say like is there like a katana?
yes.
So the katana has its own tree?
Yeah, a specific katana has its own tree. And then there's the level 2 katana. Right?
Okay.
But to upgrade it, it may take 60 things. And I played the game for 3 hours and I had 15.
So you're walking around and you're collecting like little things.
Little things, like little like sword, like the sword you may need
like pieces of metal or something.
pieces of metal, or you may need like an eyeball, or you may need like these things, and you're collecting them.
Okay.
And you even find bags of them where there's like tons in there, right? The only way you're going to be able to upgrade your character is if you can loop the game.
Loop it?
Like get all the way through to the end.
And like play it again, like New Game
Because
Plus.
when you die, you lose a huge percentage of the items you collected.
I see what you're saying. Okay, sorry.
Right?
Because it's a roguelike, so you gotta like okay.
Yeah, either you loop or you get to the store before you die. So
that's hard to do.
It's hard to do because you're weak because you don't have upgrades. But like this game could have been beautifully balanced.
And once you get back to the shop, you give the shopkeeper the stuff you've collected, and that you keep.
Yes.
At that point.
Yes.
And that's where it's okay.
Now
that's where you make your progression.
Yes. Now
Okay.
worse than that.
That reminds me a lot of Dead Cells.
Yeah.
Is very much like that too. Yeah.
Now worse than that, your individual character progression, there's these two like different sides of like a yin yang.
Okay.
There's things that
Now what's that mean?
So there's things that upgrade your base stats and things that upgrade that give you like perks, like, oh, I can carry an extra potion or something like that. And they're training in secret arts, they're called. But the problem is that I played this game for hours and I never got enough to unlock even one of either of those. I'm close.
And you were collecting what?
I was collecting everything. The little yin-yang things. I was collecting the little materials for my weapons, collecting all of that. But so few survived death. That you never accumulate it, right? So it's like, now I need to become an expert at this game and put hours and hours and hours in. And this game is not fun enough to put hours and hours and hours in.
I say if the gameplay was fun enough, maybe you would put that much time in. Is it like a little bit
And
fun?
I did. Like, look at a game like 30XX. I played 30XX for like 16 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a roguelike, and that has permadeath, and the upgrades in that suck. Like, the upgrades are awesome that you get on the run.
Yeah.
The upgrades suck that you get that persist.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, and during the run, your upgrades are awful because it's like they got this Gradius style system with these souls. Okay?
Like, you mean like the...
So you get a soul. You know in Gradius, like, you get a little ball and the track along the bottom.
Yeah, the track along the bottom.
Like, it lights up.
And it's like missile, and then it's like laser, and then it's...
And then you lock you lock
Option.
in, and then you get it.
Yeah.
So if you want to get option,
Yeah.
you go boop, 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 and then you get it.
And when you get to it, get it. Right.
But then if you're going to here to get speed, you just have to get the first one.
So this is a Konami game, so they're using that Gradius system?
Right?
That's weird, too.
It's like imagine you could never have imagine you have no short-term memory, and you got to make a game. You only have long-term memory.
Yeah.
And you can't think of anything new. It's like this game was made by an AI.
It sounds like the ideas are coming from a guy who hasn't
Like an
played
old
a
guy.
game, and like an older developer who hasn't played stuff in a long time.
Yeah. It
Right?
definitely has that feeling. So you're going through the track, but like in the beginning, all you want is health. You get health, which is the third one.
Okay.
You get your potions, do more. The enemies hit, like, health is amazing.
Yeah.
And then primary weapon is probably second best. But you're like really working hard to do this, and the souls drop and you kill the enemy. And a lot of times when you kill the enemy, you're standing on top of them. So like, I'm standing on top of the enemy. I slash and kill him. I pick up the soul and I go down the fucking track past health. So you go past health, you get a potion. But you don't want a potion because you can only carry 2. So now you're holding 2 potions. A potion drops.
Can you open more inventory slots?
Yeah. Then you got to get the freaking yin yang things to get the slots, to get more potions. But you can't get them because you're dying. So you're in this fucking...
I have a question for you. So let's say that for you, I know it's not, but let's say that for you, time was unlimited.
Yes.
And you didn't have to worry about time. Would this be a more tolerable game? Because it seems like this is the type of game that you have to invest a lot of fucking time into.
Right. Yes, it is. Yeah, probably. I mean, it's not the worst. Like, you pick up on...
Because I'll see people sometimes that I see stream on like Twitch.
Yeah.
And they will play a game for like 2,000, 3,000 hours.
I can't imagine.
That kind of game.
Okay. But
the game has to be really fucking good to devote 2,000 hours.
But the thing is, like, okay, now I got to memorize the patterns on the first boss, and the second boss, and the third boss, and the fourth boss. I got to memorize the patterns of every enemy. Now I got to execute it perfectly.
Oh yeah, and then fighting each enemy is like a different. They like you might have to like roll on one guy. Like talk about like what are fighting the individual enemies like.
Okay, so skeletons, you can stun them. So you just hit them, and they die.
Okay.
That's the easiest.
Sure.
The heads that come at you, you just hit them and they die.
Okay.
There's like these big heads that roar. And when the big heads roar, you better get out of the way because they're going to charge you.
Yeah, what do you do? Jump
and you have
them?
to jump.
Okay.
There are the Oni, which swing in front of you.
Yeah.
But then they backswing.
Do they make brown brick references?
No, they don't. Oni like devils. Not like Oni like Oni. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are these dudes that throw rocks, but they throw rocks like right where you're standing. So they like drop a rock like right next to them and then it explodes.
Yeah.
So there's those guys. There's a lot of different guys, but like it's kind of rinse and repeat. Mm-hmm. But if you screw up and you don't have the health, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I played this game because it was in the Nintendo Direct. The progression system infuriated me.
Did you like feel like you trust the Nintendo Direct to where you're like the Nintendo says I should play this, so I'm gonna try it, and it's Konami? Like, what made you? Because let me tell you something.
No,
I would probably watch the Direct and not play the game.
I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
So I looked at this game, the Nintendo Direct. I thought I wasn't gonna like it, and I played it because I thought I was gonna shit on it, honestly, and I was not disappointed.
I like the truth. That's the truth.
I was not disappointed, and I wanted to play the Famicom game, which I really did like.
Yeah.
You know,
I was watching him play some of the Famicom game. I would probably stream that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. It's hard. It's hard. It's good.
Isn't that amazing that the game 30-something years ago,
Yeah.
and you'd rather play that than play this?
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes down to like fun factor, right? And the fun factor of GetsuFumaDen Undying Moon is way lower.
Also, why
than
would
the
it
original.
not come down to the fun factor? It's a video game.
It's a video game.
If you're not
It's about
having
fun.
what are you doing?
Yeah, because like video games for me aren't like a pissing contest. Like I'm not trying to be like a freaking game guy that like people love or whatever. Like I'm not trying to do that.
You just want to have
I
some
want to have fun,
Yeah.
you know, and I play it for the show. I play it for this show because I want to talk about it. But in this game, it's like the other thing I didn't like is the bosses are really cool. They're like devils and skeletons, and they are beautiful artwork and stuff. Like that's probably the best art in the game.
The big boss fights.
The big boss fights, but like they're like layered. Like they're in the background.
The bosses are in the background?
Like they're like big.
Okay.
And like you can like run into them
Okay.
to hit them.
That's weird. So is it hard to tell where to hit them
Yes.
and stuff? Okay.
Like they're like chunky, and that's what I didn't like about Bloodstained. Like the Bloodstained, not Curse of the Moon, but like the Bloodstained.
Right, yeah.
Because it's like, okay, where do I stand?
You mean the more modern looking
Yes.
one? Yeah.
Where's the wall?
Yeah.
Oh, I can walk a little more to the left. That's not quite the wall.
I was very agitated by that game.
Yeah, like those kind of things.
So I saw you fighting a skeleton boss, and what I saw was this giant boss that took up most of the screen, and he's this big skull and these hands. And what I noticed was the background, the foreground, and the boss all seemed to, you didn't know really what plane things were on. And I feel like I know how to fix the problem because I played so many other games that do it right. So what you need to do is, like, let's say the skull part of it. Let's say that you don't hit the skull. I don't know what you hit and what you don't hit in this game, but let's just say that you don't need to hit the skull. What you need to hit is the hands. Well, the hands should be like more bright.
Yeah.
And where the rest of the skeleton character should be a little bit darker. That way they separate out from the boss. That way you know what to hit. And with this game, there was none of that. It was just like, where do I go? What do I hit?
It's really muddy. It's like all
I could
out
see
there.
that. Yeah. This reminds me a little bit of Dead Cells, because with Dead Cells, it was the same kind of thing. It was like I only got to, I think, the second or third boss, and there was probably like 5 or 6 or something to get to, and I put, I don't know, maybe 10 hours or something into playing that.
Right.
And I wasn't able to do like a full run because you got to collect things and you die and you start over and you're like gradually like building up your character and making it stronger. Right. If I kept playing the game, I'm sure by now I would have done all the stuff, but it's like, it's one of these situations that it's like, how much time are you going to devote to a game?
Right.
And I stream a lot, so I have a lot of time to play games, but even in the situation that I'm in, that I'm playing so many hours of games, I get tired of
You got to the
playing
point where you
same-
had enough.
I had enough
I think if you play a game 10 hours, you should be on the path.
to kind of getting close to being done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, you want to have more entertainment from that, but that entertainment should come from the branches.
Right.
But you should have been a fair way up the tree by the time
I
you
felt
got
like I should have
to-
been further than I was. Maybe I was just
Yeah.
doing bad, but I don't know. Yeah.
But like the thing is, Dead Cells is a way better game than this. Right? But this game probably costs more money to buy.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's made by a real game publisher. And that's frustrating.
And I hate, it sucks, and everybody be like, oh, this is Konami, and that's their reputation now, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, fuck Konami and stuff like that, and it's like, it kind of sucks because, we're older and going back to remembering Konami, like on the NES was like the best.
Right.
Pretty much.
Them,
And Capcom. And, you
yeah,
know,
definitely.
Like, there were, you know,
Like
maybe
outside of
IRAM,
Nintendo,
you know.
like I have to say that those Konami and Capcom titles on NES were as strong as the Nintendo titles.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's why, right, the whole thing was that Nintendo was, like, worried, so they had to make Ultra and whatever because they didn't want to be outshined by Konami, a little bit of that.
It's really weird that you get into the Super Nintendo and Nintendo just runs ahead. Right? Like Super Mario World, Zelda, Metroid.
That's when they were really on fire.
You're just like, fuck. Like, this is amazing.
Right.
Right? And then, like, Konami, it's like, oh, here's Super Castlevania. It's great. Like, Super Castlevania is fine. But Super Castlevania is not Super Metroid fine.
Yeah, right.
It's like a different level.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You look at, like, the Game Boy games that Konami comes out with. It's not...
They had, like, Gradius 3.
Yeah.
And, like, I like Gradius 3, but, like... I feel like people aren't going to remember that super fondly because it's like, that's a hard fucking game.
Right.
And, you know, so it's kind of
Yeah. No, I mean, I rented that a bunch and didn't get anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what the first shooter where I really got somewhere with was
that?
Darius Twin.
Okay. Oh, the fish.
The fish.
The fish.
Yeah, here's a tiger shark. Yeah. No,
Darius Gaiden is really good.
Is it hard?
It's hard. I made it to the end of it. I didn't beat it, but I
Yeah.
made it to the last guy once, and that's a great game.
Yeah.
I like Darius.
Yeah. I have the arcade system that Darius Gaiden goes into.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
That's cool.
I just need to get the...
Should get it. It's good. You should actually get it. It's worth it.
Yeah. I just picked up a Radiant Silver Gun for the Sega STV. Because I have a STV because I bought a Die Hard arcade cab.
That's cool.
So I would like to play it. It's a hard shooter.
A Radiant Silver Gun?
Yeah.
I've streamed it. It's very hard. It's a
Yeah.
super hard one. Yeah.
I just think it's cool because it's like a modern shooter a little bit. Yeah, so I'm going to check that out.
We'll have to do a shooter episode sometime because there's like,
Yeah.
you know, we talk about all these game mechanics and stuff like that, but a lot of shmups can be very samey.
Yeah.
So because I play a lot of shmups, I look for things to hold my interest. Because if you're just playing these same space shooters and you're shooting shit and they're all like the same, it's like you get to the point and you're like, all right, well, what's really separates this game from this game? You know, so there are some really interesting shmups out there, though.
Yeah, definitely. I recently played on an arcade, like a main cabinet. I played a Gundam shooter. And it was cool that all the Gundams had different charge attacks and different things. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So if you're the person in the comments who's going to say, oh, GetsuFumaDen, you just didn't like it because you suck. That might be the case. I would love to see how you did.
Well, it's probably also the case that
Yeah.
Ryan is not going to put 250
Right.
hours.
No, but what
into
I'm
it.
saying is I would love, you know, instead of sending the comment, oh, you just suck at it, what I would love for you to send a link to a video of you having all the shit unlocked and being amazing.
Right.
Because I would like to see that.
Right.
I think
Instead
that
of just
would,
saying, "Oh, you suck, bro," like I would like to see what you did.
yeah, I would like to see it
right,
because honestly, like if you sent me a video and it was like, oh, amazing, everything's
like the guy's the
unlocked,
master of the game,
right? I would be like impressed by that,
right.
Like I'd be like, yeah, that's super cool, dude, that you did that. Like I
Right.
wouldn't disparage that because you play bad games or games that would be considered bad,
all the time.
but it's impressive to see like somebody like mastering it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between me and the really good speedrunners.
Right.
It's like I'll beat games or I'll do challenges or whatever, but like I pale in comparison to people that they blow through these games and they're doing it deathless every time, but they're doing it deathless, but they're doing it fast.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's impressive.
So Ryan was talking about in his game that the sprites looked like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, specifically Leonardo.
So let's put that on screens just so that
Yeah.
you know people can see that again. So in my game, same thing happened.
Wow.
I played Predator on NES,
Yes.
and when you finally see Predator, he actually looks just like one of the Ninja Turtles. Same thing. He jumps up in the air and he does that spinny thing and then drops back down.
That's cool.
It's really weird because this game is not Konami. This was made by a company called Pack-In Video. And which sounds to me like when I would hear that, it sounds to me like a mom and pop video store.
Like, oh, we're making games.
We're
now.
going down to Pack-In Video, and I'm gonna go rent pack it in your ass. Right?
But the thing is, like, if I was Pack-In Video, and I'm in the 80s, 90s, whenever this came out, and I get the license for the movie and all that, and I'm playing the TMNT game, I'd copy that. It's freaking cool.
Well, okay, so Pack-In Video was like a developer.
Yes.
It just sounds like a video store. But the game, it was published by Activision. So when you see the cover and Arnold is on the cover and you see that and it says Activision, and I was like, oh, Activision made this. Yeah. And then this always happens. You realize after, it's like all those LJN games. You realize, oh, really, Rare did it, or Ocean did it, or something like that. It's one of these cases. So Pack-In Video made this game. By the way, they also made Rambo on NES, which is another great game. So they were really knocking out the hits. So they did Rambo, Sylvester, and then they did Arnold. So that's kind of funny. They got those two like licenses. But so the famous thing about this game that everybody's going to say and know is that the character is wearing pink.
Yes.
Now, I don't know what the deal with that is. I have to assume they were probably working on the game while the movie was being made, and they probably didn't know. So they probably just...
Either that, or it's like a very high contrast.
It might be... Let's think about this. What about Batman on NES? How Batman's purple?
Yeah.
Why is Batman purple? Well, most of the backgrounds in that are black. Mm-hmm. So maybe they just needed a color that would work, and they picked pink, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean... I think there's a lot of reasons why things are certain colors on NES. I think back to a classic example, you know, like Little Mac's gloves change color.
Okay.
When you go like to the different circuits.
Well, the mats are different colors, so the boxing gloves probably had to be.
Well, what I'm saying is
maybe
those color palette choices allowed them to do other changes, right? GetsuFumaDen, going back to that, there are certain enemies in the Famicom that are red when they're in certain stages, and
on
yellow.
Another stage they're a different color.
Yeah. Well, so I think back to that, and I'm like, yeah, the limitations of the NES really created some interesting situations.
There was exactly
right. So now Arnold's pink,
and we laugh at it because Arnold's wearing pink. You know, it's like it's funny, but really there was it's probably not that funny of a real answer. It's probably just they needed to make it that color for some reason, you know? So I did a bunch of live streams where I played every single licensed NES game. I tried them briefly.
Right.
I didn't play them for a long time. Like I've said to you before that I've never played Minecraft. Technically, I've played Minecraft for a couple minutes, but I've never like really played it for hours and hours and hours.
I played this game with you on stream, Predator. We played it one time that I was streaming with you, one of the few times.
Right, and I think we played X-Men and some other stuff. And so when I went through and I played all the licensed NES games, I came upon Predator, and I know there had been an AVGN video on it, but I hadn't played much of it. So I was like, oh, this seems like it might be a good stream.
Yeah.
So I finally got to it, and it's a mixture of bad and good. There's a lot of bad things about it, but some of the good things, like the enemies, or the bosses, I should say, have like energy meters, and things like that, and the music is actually pretty good in the game.
Oh, that's cool.
And when you see the cutscenes, there are cutscenes for one thing. Some of these games I play, you beat them and then it just says the end. Like when I did Temple of Doom, you beat the game and it just says like it should say "fuck you" is what it is. But it's like end, and then it goes back to the title. It's like nothing. This game, I beat this game, and there's a whole end cutscene, and there's a bunch of like different screens and stuff. So there are some good things about this game, and I don't think anyone out there is pointing out the good aspects to this game, because I like to be fair about things. There are some good things about it, but that said, most of the stuff in this game is bad, and it's kind of one of the things that's annoying about the game is when you duck, you want to be able to punch or shoot, and you can't.
Oh wow!
So you start playing the game and you're like, okay, I'm gonna shoot stuff. I'm Arnold. I'm gonna go around and shoot stuff, and then you go and all you can do is punch stuff, but only when you're standing. But there's these enemies that are low, so you can only like jump over them or get hit by them.
There's a lot of games that have that problem too.
Right. So you're playing the game.
Yeah.
And you're going, it's level 1. You're going as Arnold and you start going and an enemy comes up to you. So you punch them, whatever. And then you're walking and then you fall. And you're like, why did I fall? Oh, the background. So they have areas where there's like fake out backgrounds where the green is actually like a bush. So you end up falling through. So then you go back. But you can't go back because now you're in a spot where you're going to get a grenade, and you take the grenade and you throw the grenade at the wall, and the bottom of the wall blows up, but you can't. It's not like Mario.
You got to hit 2.
It's not like Mario where you can like slide under it or something. You have to basically. I shut the game off, and started over because I didn't know until halfway through I was playing the game. I took another route to get past that. So what you do, you get these grenades, and basically you can like glitch throw these grenades to where, imagine there's like a brick and another brick and another brick. You go up and you throw the grenade, you blow up the bottom one. But how do you get the higher up ones? You got to kind of like jump into the bricks and like throw it so that the grenade like kind of glitches in between the.
And then you'll get 2.
And then no, it only ever blows up one at a time. It's really bad, like the way the grenades work. But
this is like you with Indiana Jones, where it's like, oh, now you got to glitch the game because
Predator is a much better game than Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
it's not a good game, but it's better. Indiana Jones is like one of the worst. So you're running along, you're Arnold, you're running along, and you're punching people, and you're like, doesn't he have a fucking gun in the movie? Right. And you're going, and I make it to the next level and the next level. I'm like 3 levels in. And I'm like, I don't have a gun. So I look over at the chat, and the chat's like, guns on the first level. I'm like, where? So I hit reset again, and I'm like, so I start thinking, all right, and you gotta wait through the cutscene and everything.
Right.
And then the game starts, okay, where's this gun? So the gun is like hidden up in the corner of this tree, like camouflaged. So you have to like know that the gun, it's like a Nintendo Power kind of thing. And so you get the gun, you go, but even when you get the gun, it runs out anyway. Like you can only fire so many shots, so it didn't matter anyway.
Right, you're back to punching.
You're back. There are guns that you can get later, like laser guns that will shoot forever. But every time you get to the next screen, your weapons disappear, and you got to get the weapons again on every screen. So it doesn't fucking matter. So basically, just try to make it. What you're trying to do on each stage, like in Mario, you're trying to make it to the flagpole at the end.
Right.
In this, you're just trying to make it to the door at the end to get to the next screen, to get to the next screen, to get to the next screen. So it's like that. And here's one of the biggest problems about the game. So, I don't explain this without the whiteboard, but basically, so imagine like it's like this, and you're Arnold, and you're walking along like this, and then you got to jump up top to here, right?
Yeah.
So in most games, this would be like a wall, like if you're like in a jungle or something like that, and then this is like the mountain, and like this is the grass up top. So you're Arnold, and you jump up top. In this game, if you walk to here, you can walk through this wall and fall down.
Oh, it doesn't block you.
It doesn't block. So all the walls are like transparent basically, but it doesn't look that way. They look like they're solid walls, but they're not. So you just walk through the walls and fall and die. So you have to always be conscious of, I have to jump on top of the platforms because you just fall through them.
Right.
So that's a continual problem that's really annoying. And the way the controls are not, it's not like Mario where, you're in Mario and you're in the air and you can like move like in the air.
It's more Castlevania where you jump and you're on a trajectory.
Yeah, and it's like you gotta. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Yeah,
but it's not even exactly like Castlevania either. It's like its own thing, sort of. And the point of me saying this is it makes it very easy. It makes it very easy to miss jumps, and there's a lot of like block nothing. So you got to do a lot of this little jumps and shit, and it's like, and the controls are not good, So there's a lot of that. So let's talk about big mode.
Big mode.
So you get you go into one of the doors and the game changes.
Yes.
And now it's big mode. So Arnold is a huge sprite on the screen.
Right.
And what do you have to do on this? There's a bunch of like bubbles all over the place. And I don't know. I've seen Predator. I don't remember.
I totally forgot about this.
Yeah.
Now I remember it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's bubbles everywhere. And you're like, I don't remember bubbles like in Predator movie. And there was so there was an AVGN episode on this, and the shot in the video that I liked a lot, there's a shot where the nerd takes the beer and he goes to drink the beer and he's looking through the glass of the Rolling Rock, and in the background the game changes to, on the screen, it changes to the big mode, which he hadn't seen before. And then he the beer comes out of his mouth because he's like, what the fuck is this? It kind of reminds me of how you and I right now, we have these bars in front of us, and I'm like, I'm looking at you. I'm like, hey, Ryan, I can almost see you through these things.
That's funny.
But so big mode, it's kind of cool because you're a giant sprite.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of cool because it's the best version of when you see the Predator.
Yeah.
Because he's a giant. It's like, he actually like looks like the Predator. Because when you see it, when he looks like the Ninja Turtle, it doesn't look good.
Right.
There's different versions of the Predator. Like sometimes at the end of stages, there's like the full screen where Arnold's like small and the Predator's small and he jumps and he looks like the Ninja Turtle. That's one version. Other version is big mode, and then the last version is the end of the game, which we'll get to in a minute. So there's bubbles everywhere, and you have to shoot the bubbles. So the bubbles are coming towards Arnold, and if you shoot the bubbles, sometimes the bubble will blow up, and there'll be an item underneath.
Yeah.
Like some of them are like rapid fire, and one that you can get is you shoot things, and everything on the screen dies, and you just keep shooting and shooting and shooting, and the Predator, I guess in the movie, the Predator turns like invisible, right?
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing with this, is that like the Predator's not there, but you just keep firing, and then you shoot him because your bullets hit him.
I guess.
And then it's not hard. You just basically keep shooting, and then you keep the bullets will hit the invisible Predator, and then his like health bar goes down, and then you win. Like that part's not hard at all. It's just like looks really stupid because there's bubbles everywhere. Right. It's just weird.
Yeah.
So there's that. That's the big mode. And then you beat the big mode.
Yep.
And you go back to regular mode, and that's where the game is more difficult. And as you get further in the game, like basically the platforming gets really difficult. And you're continually just like falling off the screen and shit. Things that you wouldn't normally do. Like if you were playing as Ninja Gaiden or Mario, you would have no problem making these jumps. But because the controls suck, because Pack-In Video didn't know how to program a fucking game, you're dying. Yeah. So this is a good example. We talk about sometimes games where is it your fault that you suck, or is it the game's fault? This is an example of a game where it's the game's fault. It's not your fault.
Yeah, like me playing this game, like I've gotten places in it. I'm like, oh, I'll muddle through. Like I can kind of compensate for it, but it's like,
why? It's just bad.
Yeah,
you might as well play something better.
Right.
So, you get to the end of the game. Let's talk about the end of the game. The end of the game is there's 30 levels in this, and I didn't know how many levels there were. And then there's some extra levels and things like that. And some of them do get like really difficult in what you have to do, but it's all just like bad platforming difficulty shit.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, you get through all that. You finally get to the last level, and the last level is and by the way, a lot of the enemies are just like these little goofy, stupid things. Like one looks like the Flurry from Mario 2.
Right.
And one's like this little eyeball with wings flying around. It's like, remember Predator, the movie?
So imagine if there was like
where's that shit?
Guys running at you, or like it should be like
army guys,
and
there are,
yeah.
But then there's like these weird things that just shouldn't be in the game.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you get to the last stage. It's stage 30, and it is a whole stage, and then you get to the end, and it's a giant predator head,
right?
Which there's two forms of it, and it's like the mask, and then you blow the mask off, and then it's like the predator's face, and you just gotta keep like shooting at it. You jump up and shoot at it, and eventually it dies. So I died on it, and you know, of course, what happens is they send you back.
Yes.
But they send you back all the way to the beginning of the area, and it reminds me of like Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
Where you die and they send you back in like several areas. Now I want to ask you a question about that. So in Ninja Gaiden, you're on the end of Ninja Gaiden, you die, and then they send you back to the beginning of like 5-1.
Yes.
This isn't that bad.
Right.
This is like they send you back a couple screens.
Yeah.
So you might have lost like 2 minutes of progress or something, as opposed to Ninja Gaiden where you lose like 20.
Right.
Like that's like really hard to get back through Ninja Gaiden again. So there's different schools of thought on that, and I want to get your opinion on it. So a game where, let's say you're playing a game, you're on the last boss, you die on the last boss, but the game's gonna punish you because you died on the last boss, so you're gonna get some kind of more severe punishment, and they're gonna send you back like a full level or a couple levels back.
Right.
What do you think of that when games do that?
I think that you should go back to the beginning of the boss's level, not necessarily all the way back. Like I think Castlevania 1 is fair.
Right.
That's fine. I mean, you got to go through all the clock tower shit and all of that, but
I think I kind of forget at the moment, but I think in Castlevania, if you die, maybe do you have to do the whole level over? Forget, because I know in Castlevania 4, if you die, it starts you at the stairs again. I think, and you just go up the stairs.
Yeah, you know what? I don't remember. They may start you at the stairs, but
yeah,
either way is fine. I think I would honestly. I think I would prefer starting on the stairs. Like I know that's not
instead of having to go that far back.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? In my heart, I have to say, using Castlevania as the analogy, does it really make sense to go through the whole level? Why?
I don't think you do though in Castlevania. I think you start at the steps.
You start at the steps. Okay, that's what I want.
You want to start?
I want to start at the steps. I don't want to get sent back.
Let's say it's a Mario game. Let's say it's Mario 3.
Yeah.
And they sent how far? Now Mario 3, they send you die on Bowser. You go back to the beginning of that castle, and you have to go through the castle and then beat Bowser. Mm-hmm. That's a fair way to do it. They don't send you back to like the
bridge,
boat or whatever.
Yeah,
they don't do that. Imagine if you died on Bowser and they sent you back to like the tank that you start on, you know?
Oh my god.
That would be too much. Yeah. But you
think they should send you back a little bit. Why? Cuz I'm saying Castlevania, send me back to the steps. I go up the steps, I fight again. Okay. You're saying why go back?
So I don't think that should always be the case. I think there should be a mixture of games.
Yes.
Some games, like Castlevania 4, let's say, and they start you at the steps, I think that's fine, and that's the way it should be. But if the developers decided, because they wanted to, that they're like, we're going to make this hard, and we're going to send them back like further.
Yeah.
So I think some games should be like that, because it's different.
I don't think they should ever send you back past another boss.
Oh, it's that you have to fight another boss again? Yeah, I mean, that can be a little extreme. I don't know that they don't do that in Ninja Gaiden.
No.
I don't.
They don't. No,
you
don't.
To fight the Bloody Moth again? I think you might have to fight Bloody Moth again. I think they actually do that in Ninja Gaiden. That's like really extreme. Yeah. And that's why I think it's more fair to not like that in Ninja Gaiden, because that's like a lot.
I don't think they should ever send you past a boss.
Yeah. You know, I think actually, I can't remember right now, but he might already be dead if you have to redo it. So you just like run past it, I think.
Oh.
But anyway, they do send you really far back. So the other thing is like, I grew up in the generation of Karate Kid and Johnny Lawrence. And Johnny Lawrence is like, don't be a fucking pussy. Just fucking do it.
Right.
And I feel like Johnny Lawrence, if he was sitting here, he'd be like, just fucking do it. Don't be a fucking pussy. Just fucking do it.
Right.
If they send you back, let's say you were playing Mario 3 and they did send you back to the tank.
Right.
And that's the way they developed the game. So what? Just fucking do it.
Game's not gonna beat itself, punk.
Yeah, beat it. Just
beat
do
it. Do it.
So they sent you back? Too bad. Do it again until you fucking beat it.
That's funny.
But I also don't think that every game should be like that.
Right.
There
needs to be a mixture.
So sometimes when a game does that, so I was playing this and Predator and I died on the big fucking Predator head. And when it sent me back, I was like, okay, I'm up for the challenge. And eventually I did it again and I did it again and then I beat it.
That's good.
So like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
So I don't know. People get very upset about the getting sent back thing.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
just fucking do it.
Well, I mean, you did it.
And a lot of other people have done it too.
There you go.
So what do you guys think in the chat right now that are watching the YouTube premiere? Do you think that it should be more like forgiving, where you should just start right on the boss again? Or do you want to not be a fucking pussy?
I think you kind of made the decision for them there, like, to be honest. But I think...
How could you not answer?
Right.
I'd be like, I want to be a pussy.
Oh,
Right?
Yeah, right.
Right.
I think they should never send you back past a boss. I think you should either be on the steps or send you back to right after the last boss.
It's like, what's fair? How far back is fair,
Yeah,
basically.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're sending you back to level 3, they're assholes.
Ninja Gaiden might be a little too far.
They're assholes.
They're assholes. But I'm okay with it because I think the NES in general is an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, if the NES had a personality,
Yeah.
he'd be a fucking asshole.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know?
I like that.
So,
Yeah.
Predator. Predator is a game that maybe you could play. You gotta get over the pink costume. Yeah, we know he's got a pink costume.
Yeah.
The things that are hard to forgive are some of the platforming's real bad, and being able to like fall through some of the walls and stuff, that's
not good.
bad. And the grenade, how that works is kind of bad. But what I did learn with the grenade is you can just duck with the grenade and drop it. So once you learn that makes it a little bit better. This is not the worst NES game. It's not the best NES game. It's kind of right in the middle.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, and I kind of have the same advice with GetsuFumaDen. Like, yeah, it shouldn't have been a Nintendo Direct. Yeah, it sucks Konami's not making the games they want you to make. But, you know, if you're playing a roguelike, you know, it's if you're putting the time in, it's probably fine. They just need to balance out the power-ups and yeah, I mean, and the Famicom.
So you're recommending it or you're not?
No, I'm just saying that it's not the worst.
Okay, right.
So
we both brought games that are both like,
But I expect Konami. I expect Konami should be doing better with the history they have, and the Famicom one, you should play it.
Yeah, and I also think that Pack-In Video should have done a hell of a lot better too.
You know, they did the best they could.
I know, right? Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. That is this episode of Talk About Games. We will be back next week. Once again, we always do this show on Fridays. It airs at 8:00 Eastern Standard Time, at least, on YouTube, and you can catch the podcast also on all the different audio. All the different podcast services.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks. I have so many things I want to talk about. I'm like gonna get off track here.
This is the case of a game that was far more popular in Japan than it was in the United States.
They never went to Mordor. What are you talking about?
This is kind of weird.
But there's real detail. There's like wiring underneath.
You know, they're one and done. That's
Yeah,
it. Sold
yeah.
out. So they're super hard to come by.
You heard him, guys. Bring it back. Here we go again. Round two.